Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and we're going to talk about key tips for people lifting over 40. Now this could be utilized at any age, and I have followed this since I've been in my 30s, but I have found it more and more important as I get into my 40s. So let's get to it. The first thing that we have to understand is that we have to have a mindset of traction versus compression. Now if you have any of the manuals or you've been following any of the Patreon workouts, you'll notice that this stuff is already kind of custom built into that. But what I'm talking about is that if I'm going to squat or deadlift, I'm putting pressure on my spine, smashing it. What I want to do is stuff before I do that and after I do that that actually decompresses, or at bare minimum doesn't do any more compressive damage to the discs and the vertebrae. And when you're talking about traction versus compression, you're trying to alleviate those pressures. So we will throw in belt squats for both Wenning warm-ups and for main lifts sometimes, and even sometimes for accessories in, say, belt squat marches. Now these things are going to allow us to attack these muscle groups in a squatting type movement, but with minimal to no wear and tear on the spine, especially in the lumbar area that most people have lots of issues with. The next thing that we have to think is that as you get older, the ability to train at a fairly high level becomes a 24-hour process. And what this means is that how you eat and how you sleep and how you avoid or at least maintain or sustain your stress levels to either reduce them or keep them at bay becomes more important, if not just as important, as what you're doing in the gym. So you find that people that age slower and that actually are still able to train harder up around 35, 40, 45, 50 are ones that learn how to navigate life better. I recommend, most people say 7.5 to 8 hours. I say if you're heavily trained, you're probably going to need to be in the 8.5 to 9 hour range. It also means what time you go to bed. I find that people that perform really well tend to go to bed very early. Now, one thing that will help with that is ATP Labs CinterMag. So if you're taking magnesium, it actually helps cool off the body and the muscles to allow the body to actually go into restorative mode. So if you really want to try to train, like most people think, I'm going to take a pre-workout or I'm going to take an energy drink. Your lower energy is usually caused from what you did 12 hours prior, meaning that if your diet's screwed up or your sleep's screwed up, don't expect to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole with an energy drink or pre-workout. It's not going to work that way. You're better off getting that extra half an hour of sleep and then managing stress. The next big thing is your diet. A lot of times when you start to get over 40, you're going to start to have to get more regular blood work, especially if you take your health and performance and keep it at high regard. This means that optimal blood work, in my opinion, should be done about every 3 to 6 months. You should be looking at key markers like eGFR, which is your kidney flow rate. So if you're taking lots of creatine, you're eating a boatload of protein, or you're really damaging a lot of muscle tissue, you need to keep an eye on how well your kidneys are filtering that. The next thing you want to watch if you're on testosterone is hemoglobin, hematocrit levels. As those rise, your blood gets thicker and can cause all kinds of different things like strokes, blood vessel issues, all kinds of things that you kind of want to stay away from and need to keep in check. The next thing that everybody wants to talk about is testosterone levels, which is why we're talking about blood work right now. Testosterone levels are one of those things that start to decline as you age, no matter what you do. But you need to keep those optimal, and if that causes a need for medication, so be it. But there are some key things that I think that you can use naturally that would either keep your testosterone from falling as much, or at least keep it as high level as possible. One, try to avoid parabens and sulfates in body washes and hair products. The next thing can be styrofoam, aluminum, and plastics. These things need to be used in a marginal amount, so try not to eat with like plastic spoons. Try not to eat in plastic dishes. The next big thing is avoid soy. So soy can also lower testosterone and raise estrogens. Those are another big thing that you see in a lot of food, especially processed food. And then the next thing, talking about processed food, would be sodium benzenate. So sodium benzenate is a preservative that is in a lot of stuff in like aluminum cans, microwave meals, things like that nature, and it's used as a preservative, but it also can cause a lot of havoc on your hormonal system. So I hope this has helped you guys out a lot for being over 40, or as you start to age, some things you're going to need to start looking at. If you come to online coaching, and I personally do it, I take a look at all of your blood work and even have other people that are in my particular area give me a good snapshot of what they think that are doctors that have been doing this a long time. If you can't afford that, which is out of a lot of people's budget, at least at the bare minimum, get the manuals and read them and start understanding how to train a little smarter with this traction versus compression type ideal already built into your training.